Hey guys, welcome to the Cola with the Boys podcast. We are your hosts, Asen and Nathan.
What up?
Before we start the episode, I wanted to make a few overdue announcements. While we have announced it on Twitter, I wanted to announce it here as well. Kid Cisco, which can be found at Kid Cisco TV on Twitter, has joined the APM streamer team. It's a long overdue announcement because he's been on the team now for like 2-3 weeks.
It's been a while.
So, yeah, we need to shout him out here. We also have an ARC server up and running. We did announce that on Hurricane Tron's episode, but it was towards the end of the episode, and there's probably only like 2 people that stay for the whole thing. So, so basically, if you do play ARC, you can search for the APM network. That's the name of the server, and it will require a password, which is APM1 in caps. So if you need that again, you can always join our Discord, and we'll be happy to give that information to you. Anyway, with that out of the way, this is episode 31, titled The Curse of Misfortune Lane, with our special guest, Alex Delfino. The Curse of Misfortune Lane is a board game in production that just raised almost $20,000 on Kickstarter and is currently in the manufacturing stages currently. Alex is one of the creators of the board game, which gives us a deep dive insight into how the production of it works. So we definitely ask him some questions that you wouldn't typically hear on how to make a board game. So sit back, roll the dice, and open a cold one.
I just wanna crack that with that boys,
No more baby mamas, no more kids to watch, cause I got babysitters. Now it's time for liquor, come on, give it to me, cause it's my escape. Now it's time to annihilate, so my troubles all die away. I'm on a diet, Please do not try this, cause do not invite it. I'm dripping in go call the Midas. This night I was excited, it got me reignited. I've been waiting so long I can't fight it, but now I'm Mike Tyson inside, I'm on fire. It ain't nothing like a true bro.
How I found out about what you guys are doing on Kickstarter is through, I think, a mutual friend of ours, Braden.
Yep.
How do you know Braden?
I actually went to school with him, college. And then, ironically enough, my wife went to high school with him.
Oh, she's
Whoa.
a Broken Arrow fan.
Well, I don't know if she's a fan, but she was there.
Oh, nice.
Nice. So he went to ORU, right?
Correct. Yep. Yeah,
Okay.
I think he was at a couple different schools at one time or another, but yes, I know him from ORU.
Nice. Awesome, man. That's great. Yeah, I've known Braden since 9th grade. I was in marching band with him. So
Okay. You were at BA as well.
Jesus.
Yeah, both of us are from BA. We both graduated from there.
Oh,
Yeah.
nice.
Yeah, so that's how I know him. And he told me about what you guys are doing. I'm like, man, we have a podcast where we talk about content creation. I mean, board games are a form of content creation. Like, I want to promote them and help them out as much as I can.
Yeah.
So
We appreciate it for sure. And there's definitely a lot of creation that went into the process. When we started it's a card game, I feel like that should probably be said.
yeah,
When we started, it was I think 240 cards in the game, and it ended
Holy
up when it
cow.
was all said and done being like 80.
yeah. I
Probably
looked into it a little
more
bit.
like shut down than there was created when it was all said and done. But this is part of the process.
Right, yeah, editing it down. Now so the name of the board game for everybody out there is called The Curse of Misfortune Lane. It is a card game. Now, from what I saw, how similar is it to like a Magic the Gathering or Hearthstone or something of that sort? Is it anywhere near that, or is it more of a board game style?
It's more of a board game style. So think less of the trading card games like that, and think more if you've ever played Betrayal at House on the Hill, or even like a deck building game. It kind of is inspired from some of those, or like Munchkins, some of those style of games.
Okay.
So it is, it's a single sit down experience. It's not something that you're going to build on and come back to, like Magic or
Right.
Hearthstone.
Yeah.
I've played a lot of Magic as well as Hearthstone. My partner Austin played a lot of Hearthstone, and we definitely kind of used some of our knowledge of that to try to strike a balance in gameplay. But it doesn't really shake out like that when it's all said and done.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's important to definitely, take the good parts of even trading card games. I played a lot of Magic the Gathering in college, and now I've, I wouldn't say I played a lot of Hearthstone, but I've played enough of it to, get to
Suck
know
at
the
it.
game. Yeah, I suck at it. But as far as how the game works, it's important to take good aspects of it. Now, how does it work? Like, is there like an actual? Do you have a play piece on the board, or is it complete card against card? Like, kind of delve into it a little bit of how it works.
Totally. So basically, the game. I'm trying to think. So one person plays as a monster, and the remaining players, it can be up to 4 other players. They are like the kids of the town, and we kind of pulled inspiration from things like The Goonies and Stranger Things, and obviously Monster Squad. So
Yeah.
that the big like 80s nostalgia that I feel like has come back in a pretty strong swing lately.
Mhm.
And so it's one versus many in gameplay. And we started with a board, we started with pieces, and we realized that it just wasn't necessary. You could just kind of set out. There's several different decks of cards, and you press your luck drawing from the cards, trying to avoid the adults, which are the encounter cards, as the
Okay.
kids sneak around and try to gather tools. And it kind of plays out like blackjack, where you go to a deck and you're trying to dig as far as you can in a round without encountering an adult, and you kind of just have to decide if you're going to play it safe, or if you're going to try to run the gambit and go a little deeper.
That's awesome.
Once you've got a good set of tools, the monster meanwhile is trying to inhibit you, and he's one of 3, either a werewolf, a vampire, or a zombie, and it's secret. So he's kind of working behind the scenes to interact with you, and you're trying to guess what he is, based on what he's doing, whether he's bluffing, whether he's actually trying to protect his cards. And so then you kind of gather it all together in a little bit of a deck building format, to then use those cards in the second half of the game to slay the monster and save the town.
So I'm kind of getting like a mix between. You said it's not TCG, so I'm trying to add in my head where the cards are coming from. I'm getting a little bit of like an older style D&D board, and I'm kind of getting a little bit of like Town of Salem, like right there in the middle, and it's kind of like pushing it all together.
So I had never played Salem until about a week ago.
Really?
And somebody mentioned it kind of in this exact same scenario where they're like, "Oh man, this sounds just like Salem." So yeah, it's the feeling you get in Salem of not knowing like how successful you are against the monster if you're
Right.
going the right direction. Whereas that lasts the whole game. For us, it only lasts about half the game.
Okay.
But yes, it's definitely a similar style to that. There's definitely some inspiration from D&D. When you pick a kid in the town, you pick a different kid, and they have different flavors of whether you're the nerd or the athlete or whoever's pulling together, and they have different qualities based on which one you have.
Awesome. Yeah, I really like the art style of it too. Like you said, that's exactly what I thought of when I saw the front of it. Is like, this is a Goonie Stranger Things style, but at the same time, the art style reminds me a lot of like an early 2000s like Nickelodeon show.
Right. Yeah. No, I love our art so much.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We actually found an artist out of Australia. His name is Dave Collinson, and he's been great to work with. And we told him, we're like, we want it to be spooky, but we want it to be kind of tongue in cheek spooky, like not actually scary, but in that Halloween style. And trying to convey somebody that you want them to make a Count Chocula can be difficult.
Yeah.
But he did a great job of really capturing that.
Yeah, and now that you just said the word spooky, I automatically thought of like Scooby Doo. It looks a lot.
Yeah,
that style as well.
exactly.
Yeah, it's pretty amazing. But that's awesome, man. Yeah, that's awesome. And so I looked on your guys' Kickstarter, and the original amount, the goal for Kickstarter was 15,000, and you guys blew that out of the water, and you guys raised almost $20,000 for the game, which is freaking awesome.
Yeah, we were so excited. I mean, it's you look at those Kickstarters and you've got these people who, for some reason, this stuff like Exploding Kittens, where people just raise unreasonable amounts of money in unreasonably short amount of time.
Right.
But to be able to, you always feel like an imposter when you're setting up your Kickstarter. You're like, that's not us. Like, we aren't going to do that. But no, it was super exciting. We were so amped when we hit the goal, and then we just hit like the last couple days. I want to say like 4 or 5 days before it closed. We were about at the 15,000 mark, and then there was just this windfall at the end where we started getting like almost $1,000 a day, and it was like, where have these people been? But I'm glad they're here now.
That's awesome.
Yeah, and on top of that, like, do you guys plan to, I don't know, like, I've never opened a Kickstarter. I just know kind of how it works. Mm-hmm. But are you guys able to reopen that? Because obviously there's demand for it.
So that page, what we're kind of working on this week, because we just finished, and yesterday, I guess, technically, that page will kind of serve as a portal for us. Right now, the link just leads to our Twitter. But once we get everything up and running, and while we're working on manufacturing right now, you'll be able to order the game from there in the future. So that Kickstarter won't necessarily open up for fundraising, but it will just kind of serve as like a shopping cart opportunity for anybody that wants a copy of the game in the future.
So how does, like, I've heard a lot of people talk about Kickstarter, and I don't think I've ever actually been to a Kickstarter page. But from what I'm gathering, people donate money or fund money to help you guys get into the manufacturing of the game. Are those people investors, or are they literally just donating, like pledging money and to help you guys get it going?
So this is what I love about Kickstarter, because I think it's a great model. The risk is pretty low on all sides. So when you set up a Kickstarter, you establish a goal and a time frame. For us, it was 15,000 over 22 days. And anybody can come to our page, and we set pledge amounts. And we say, if you give us $24, then you are entitled to 1 copy of the game. And that's like a base pledge. And you can pledge less than that. You can pledge more than that. If you pledge less, then, thank you for your donation. And the way we set it up is if you pledge more, that's how you can also order multiple copies if you move up in intervals of 24. We had free shipping for the U.S. and we discounted international, but all of that was kind of built into it. If we don't hit our goal and we don't hit 15,000, that's a different game. if we don't hit 15,000, then no one is charged. Nobody loses any money. We receive nothing, and it's like the whole thing never happened besides the time we put into it.
That's pretty cool.
If we hit the goal, then at the end of the campaign, so like this week, everybody's, debit cards and credit cards will be getting pinged, and we'll get our money from Kickstarter minus their fee. Obviously.
A small fee of 15,000. No, I'm just kidding.
Right. So they are, in that sense, kind of donations, but they're
purchasing a copy of the game.
Exactly.
Okay.
It's pre-ordered, and generally there is an assumption that if you get it on Kickstarter, you're getting it below MSRP.
Right.
For us, with this being our first game and trying to penetrate that market, really the cheapest we could manufacture them for was the MSRP. MSRP will probably, it looks like it's going to be $30. And so our campaign had them at $24 with free shipping.
Cool.
To kind of incentivize that, get in on the ground floor, help us manufacture these.
Mm-hmm.
And you'll see stuff like that on Kickstarter. Technically, the biggest risk on that is there's not a lot that legally forces us to follow through once we've received the money.
Mm-hmm.
And it's easy when I'm talking to Braden about it, and actually Braden specifically play tested the game a lot. But he has no risk because he knows we're going to make it because he knows us and he knows he can trust us. But
Right.
When you're going onto a stranger's, that is the greatest risk. But so for the future for us, now that we have a successful Kickstarter under our belt, and once we manufacture this one over the course of the next year and deliver that to everybody, then if we need to manufacture a new game through Kickstarter in the future, we at least have a reputation of producing a product.
Right.
Yeah, that's
So
awesome,
I don't know how much Sin was wanting to go down this road or how much even you wanted to go down the road, but like I've always been really interested in the behind the scenes part of developing a business, an LLC, whatever it may be. And the fact that you're doing a board game is something I've never thought about. But obviously you have to, like you said earlier, you have an artist that you found. You've got to find somebody to craft the board, do all is that same artist going to be painting the boards or
No,
doing the card
All done through
artwork?
manufacturing, I'm guessing.
Yeah, so we I'm trying to make sure I hit both things you said there because a little bit different than some of the the LLC stuff. But as far as with the art and for us specifically, he developed the art that'll go on it, and we paid him to develop the frames. We don't have a board. There are poker-sized cards and tarot-sized cards, and the tarot-sized cards kind of function as little panels that the cards sit on. And he developed all of that, and then we contacted a manufacturer that we're working with out of China, and they kind of give us their parameters of if you want this to be on a poker-sized card, it needs to be this by this dimensions, at least this many pixels, and have this much black-edged bleed around the rim. And so, some of their stuff, it gets pretty nuanced. And so, we gave all of that back to Dave. Dave produced the PDF files of each image like that, and then we those all get put together in a single sheet, and we send that to our manufacturer.
Okay, that's pretty cool.
Yeah,
it's definitely been a process because 6 to 10 months ago, I was probably sitting about where you are in the process, where it's I really don't know how this works.
So that's
Best way to learn.
around how long the process took is 10 months time to get everything together.
The whole process was, I think, about a little bit over a year, but that was 6 to 10 months ago would have been when we started. I think we contacted Dave in January. And so that was when it was time to okay, we have enough of a vision and enough of a concept that we need to start having pictures to go with it.
Right.
The first few rounds of play testing basically just happened on printed out Excel sheets and index cards.
Nice.
Yeah, that's awesome. I'm not sure how this works. So Dave is your artist now. Obviously, at first you guys didn't have the Kickstarter amount to kind of back up the whole thing.
Right.
But let's say I wanted an artist for something like a board game or something of that sort. Do you have to, is there a certain amount you have to tell them, here's what we're this is what you'll get paid for it? Or how does that portion work? I'm so unfamiliar with that.
We had to pay him ahead of time.
Okay.
And so it's the whole the terrible idiom of it takes money to make money.
Yeah.
Right.
And some of that is in that $15,000 goal. It doesn't quite cost us $15,000 to manufacture the game, but some of that also allowed us to recoup the money that we had to put in to get this off the ground. Because to get the artwork created, some of the different even just to start a company costs money.
Yeah.
Right.
And so all of up until this point, we had already spent several $1,000s that we. And not to mention the advertising during the Kickstarter.
Oh, yeah.
Facebook, Reddit, Board Game Geek, Instagram, Twitter, all these different avenues that we're advertising and trying to do more than just sharing tweets.
Right.
It ended up we budgeted out of for it ahead of time, and we did fairly well on staying to that budget for people that were just kind of throwing a dart into the dark. But it all came together in the end.
Awesome. Now, like, as far as the estimated delivery, so on the Kickstarter it says it's estimated for August of next year. Is
Right.
that going to be bumped up, or is that still what you guys are looking at?
Well, if you ask me off recording, I'll probably give you a different answer than if you ask me on recording, because that's the nature of the internet.
Right.
Yeah, that is a very, very generous estimation for us. I would be incredibly disappointed if it took us to August of next year to get this manufactured. With this being our first Kickstarter and working internationally with manufacturing, there's definitely a language barrier that we've already encountered a little bit.
Oh, good grief, yeah.
And so with all of that, we wanted to make sure the last thing we wanted to do was tell people that the game would be here by Christmas and give it to them in August.
Right.
That being said, our goal is to get it here much sooner, and that's as specific as I will be on anything that could be traced back to me.
So how does
Completely
distribution work with this whole thing? Are you guys just selling it outright from your Kickstarter website, your own website, or are you having distributors that you're going to be selling this to and then selling it in stores? Or
so the first round of distribution, so those that pledge to the Kickstarter, those will be sent to a fulfillment center. It's called ShipBob that we're working with. They've got a couple different warehouses around the nation. We're working with them this week to figure out which warehouse makes the most sense to send our 1,000 copies of the game to.
right.
And that's just based on, the backers that we have.
Mhm.
They are not a long-term fulfillment service, so we could have used somebody like Amazon who we can just put everything in, and as long as we keep paying them, they'll keep holding it.
Right.
This is not that kind of facility. So it'll be there, and then we will have, when it's all said and done, I think we'll have about 600 units left over, the 400 that have been pledged, and about 600 remaining. Those 600 units will then need to commit, see if we can find like local retailers by me in Lakeland and Austin and Tulsa that are interested, and kind of branch out from there. We had a retail option on the Kickstarter that was picked up by one retailer in Portland, one in Canada, and another one that I can't remember, but I know they were US based. So we'll start kind of spreading out from there. Hey, we made this game. We raised $20,000 in less than a month. Do you have any interest in putting this on your shelf? But if within a few months we haven't removed all of those copies, then we'll need to move them from ShipBob to either like a different fulfillment service or to like my garage, and then ship them out from here personally.
Yeah.
Oh man.
Where then, they would be mailed through our website and any online retailers that don't want to hold the inventory themselves. They'd still
Right.
be coming from me.
Yeah.
Yeah, see, I've always wanted to know how the whole thing works, because, like, how do you get it from being, I'm going to use this term really badly, but like a small indie company, because that's what I think of when I'm thinking of a small group.
Sure.
And how do you go from, shipping it out yourself to getting it on the shelves of Walmart? I don't know if that's just like the logistics of how much copies you're selling to attract bigger
Right. And a lot
distributors.
of companies like Walmart or Target, or for board games, a great one is like Books A Million. Ironically, that has like a good board game section. A lot of companies use distributors, and because Books A Million doesn't care what 30 games are on their shelf.
Right.
They just want to know what's going to move. So they're using other distributors that are providing the games to them and telling them what to put there. But I mean, as far as the best way to go about getting those people, I'll have to come back on the podcast in a couple months, because You can ask me about a Kickstarter. I know how to do that. I don't know how to do retail very well yet.
Right.
We just did a showcase at a local comic book store this past week,
Yeah,
and
that's a good idea.
trying to start the conversation of all that. So
Nice. Yeah, like I haven't gone through the process myself of talking to retail or anything like that, but from the sounds of what I've learned on Shark Tank, it's very, very difficult to get into retail.
yeah, it's
at
tough.
least,
and that's
at
why
least where you're.
that's
not
why
getting
Kickstarter
screwed.
is a really cool scenario in general, just because it does a great job of
Right.
allowing somebody like me and Austin, who are just like two college buddies who play an inordinate amount of board games,
Yeah.
to actually try to accomplish something.
Yeah. That's awesome. So, like, now that you guys have, obviously, you're working a lot on this right now because it's in manufacturing. You guys are trying to get into retail. So, your time is probably all taken up by this right now. But are you guys already, like, have you thought of like 6 other board games you guys are working on? Or is there.
Well, and that's, I mean,
Sorry,
I'm sure no, you're fine. I'm sure you've heard this with other content creators, and that's like so much the difficulty of the creative process is because there were so many times while we were working on Curse of Misfortune that it's like, oh man, that's a great idea. Can we put that in here? No, there's no way. That's going to be
Yeah.
its own game. Should we like start working on that now? It's like, no, we definitely shouldn't. So yeah, I mean, we've got a couple ideas that we've thrown around, and there have been some lulls in the process,
Of course,
where we would kind of sit down and it's like, well, we don't have anything until we get that artwork back from Dave, so let's start working on something. So we have other projects. Nothing of that will go live until we've delivered our pledged games, just as kind of like a statement of good faith to those who have supported us thus far. The last thing we want to do is like, hey, we know you haven't seen any product from us yet, but
We're starting another one.
right. If you want to send us more money, we'll take it.
That's funny.
Yeah, that's great. So is that kind of like the dream, is like building board games? Do you guys ever want to move into actual video games, or do you guys want to move into like a TCG type game? Like what's the end game?
That's a great question. I don't know. I think doing, I mean, well, because it's so tough. Like to do something like a TCG I think would be awesome.
Yeah, absolutely.
Good luck, like people to compete with something like Wizards of the Coast or Blizzard. It would just be outlandish, though. You know what I mean?
Right. Mm-hmm.
Video games, I think. Oh, go ahead.
I was gonna say, especially since like Hearthstone, you can play it on your phone now. Like, how can you compete with that with an actual board game?
Yeah, and thankfully, like the board game genre has picked up. It's a lot more popular. I think even D&D is a lot more popular now than I feel like it was 10, 15
I think
years
you're
ago.
right. Yeah, for sure.
You got people, Joe Manganiello and Vin Diesel are coming out of their D&D closets and making it cool to be a nerd.
Right.
So I appreciate it because we needed help. So I'm glad that somebody with large bulging biceps stood in front of us. But yeah, so I mean, I don't think we would ever make a transition to the video game side of things. It's just, I just don't find it to be a transferable skill set in a lot of ways.
Yeah, you would definitely have to have a completely separate team or like programmer to do like an app, for example. Like it would be a completely separate project. But I mean, that's definitely something that should be looked into if you guys are able to, if it's in the budget. So
yeah, the biggest shift I think we'd make in the nearer future would be and this is really big on Kickstarter, but is like the inclusion of customized miniatures for the game.
Yeah.
This way, the people that are playing D&D or playing Pathfinder or whatever can pick it up for their own stuff, even if they don't care about our game. But they can have these great little figures that they can paint. So that's something we're looking into a little bit more. So staying on the tabletop, but kind of at least getting into a little bit more of the complex games.
Yeah, like the little action figures. I know you guys are offering, like, for people that pledge. I'm not sure which pledge it was, but on one of them, you guys are offering like a custom card of their own. like of themselves or something. Is that right, or did I read
Yeah,
that wrong?
yeah. So we didn't when we start we didn't do stretch goals. A lot of people have like when we reach this much, we'll add this, and
Right.
your box will be magnetic and whatever. We didn't do anything like that. And from the start, we actually only had a single pledge option, the $24 one. We ended up adding one for a customized character, so you could have a card added to your the kids of the town that you could play as. Um, and for us, it was just a way that if people wanted to splurge and spend a little bit more, they could get a unique version that would be just for them. It wouldn't go into all the copies, and it could be if they wanted to tell us what the power would be. That's great. They can break the balance of the game. They have that right.
Right.
But if they just want to be able to like bring their dog on an adventure, they can do that. Or
Yeah.
so we had 7 of those picked up, and we've showcased one of them. It was a 19-year-old who has some cognitive impairment. Would be the safest way to express that. And he loves Power Rangers, and I don't believe he knows he's getting it. I think it's a surprise from his father, who's the one who
That's awesome.
actually pledged. Yeah, and so we gave him. It's if you look at the card, you'll see the hoodie is like very much the red Power Rangers outfit, but we tried to make it look like he's just wearing a hoodie, and we tried to really like lean into the things that his dad said he likes, and his dad got approval through the process as it goes. Like, dude, how does this look? Do you like, is this good? Is it better? Do you want this different? So they were all really excited for that. We've got somebody requested a card of their 2-year-old. Again, great. That's what you want to do. Another one I know is a gentleman who's like Scottish, and so he wants the picture he sent is he's in a kilt, and so we got to make sure we get like the pattern of the kilt right to like appropriately represent his if clan is the right word or whatever.
Right. Yeah.
Because like the pattern is like representative of their heritage, and
Right.
so we got to make sure we recreate that. Don't turn
Mess
a crypt
that
into
up.
a blood.
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah, that's great, man. Like, so another thing I was curious about, just the name of the actual board game. Like, how did you guys come up with that?
That was probably one of the toughest parts, because it's we wanted to capture the style of what we're doing, that like kind of goofy, and so we were trying to like go through like is it something like neighborhood watch, monster watch, and try not to get too close to things like Monster Squad.
Right.
For the longest time, we just called the game Misfortune, and that was kind of where we were sitting. But I don't know, when we hit the Curse of Misfortune Lane, to me it struck like that same chord of like the old like Attack of the Creature from the Black Lagoon, like the like these old wordy movies that just have really cheesy, stupid names that are probably too long. And that's kind of what we were going for with that.
Yeah, it really reminds me of like some R.L. Stein titles, or this is really like, I don't know if you guys read this, but I did when I was in like second grade. The Matchbox Kids, I believe.
Nope.
It was like it was pretty much a series of like mystery books, but I mean, it sounds like a mystery title with a curse, misfortune. It definitely adds like the spooky in there.
Spoopy.
The spoopy.
We did have somebody provide some feedback that they thought it was a little heavy-handed. Like, of course, someone called Misfortune Lane would be cursed. Like, they recommended we should change it to like the Curse of Good Fortune Lane, and we took the feedback and respectfully set it aside.
Nice.
That's funny.
That's great, man. Yeah, I'm really looking forward to it. It sounds like a lot of fun because I do like TCG games, and obviously this isn't a TCG game, but it sounds like it has those elements with D&D. So it's definitely something I will be picking up as soon. So like right now, would it be available for someone that wanted to like pledge right now and get a copy, or is that something that's going to be opened up soon? Or
so right now there's not a good option for the late pledge. Hopefully, I can't make a promise, but hopefully by this Saturday that should be up and running.
Okay.
that's our goal, is to get that finished by the weekend. But right now we're just kind of in that awkward middle ground where we were a little ill prepared for that. Thankfully, in the interim, I don't know if you guys have Tabletop Simulator through Steam, but the game is up on there and it's fully playable for free. There's also a program called Tabletopia, which I had actually never used prior to this, but it's a program online that's free as well, and you can play the game on there.
Nice.
That's cool.
And does it have like all the art and everything from the actual
It
board game?
does. It does. Yep. So and you can there's some streams on our Kickstarter that some no, I should totally remember their name because I should be shouting them out right now because they were a huge help. But they streamed it for us and they did a great job. They actually cleaned up the workshop as well because, again, talking about that non-transferable video game skills.
Right.
Ours was pretty shoddy at first, and they did a really good job of kind of sprucing that up and making it a lot more presentable for tabletop.
That's
Nice.
awesome.
Yeah,
It's definitely. Oh, I was just gonna, in regards to the D&D, I want to make sure I'm not misrepresenting it entirely because it's definitely not an incredibly complicated game. One of our reviews even acknowledges like when it's Father Geek, they split their review into like children, parents, and gamers. And the gamers sat down and they're like, "Oh, this game is going to be simple. It's a waste of time." And it's surprisingly nuanced, is the way they kind of acknowledge that. Is there's more there than it seemed at first. But it's definitely like we kind of refer to it lovingly as like a gateway game. It's the kind of game that people who are really into tabletop games can take somebody like their girlfriends or their kid or whatever and kind of introduce them to the concept and without scaring them away.
yeah, that's definitely interesting, man. So just kind of, I'm gonna kind of segue it away from the board game a little bit. So you mentioned before we started recording that you used to have a podcast, like you personally. Now, is that related to kind of what you did with board games, or was it completely off topic? What was the podcast about?
So the podcast, the relation to this probably extends when I'm, these are the things I do at night when I'm fighting crime. But during the day, I stay home with my daughter. She's 2 right now, and I'm raising her right now. So that's kind of my day job. And so the relation between the podcast and the board games was ultimately just like I needed something to do during nap time.
All right.
Yeah.
But no, it was called the Video Game Review, and I was doing that with my brother as well as a couple of his college friends. And basically, we just kind of took an in-depth look at different video games, or sometimes it was a little outside of that genre as well. But we just kind of gave our opinions and looked at things a little more critically at times. But
Did you guys have like a rating system?
for video games,
Yeah.
no. Usually, the kind of what happens is we would propose a topic each week, and it would be either something about video games as a genre, or like are video games art? Very kind of open-ended questions like that, or
Yeah.
we would kind of look at things like horror video games and as games like Outlast and stuff like that, or the way Resident Evil's come back. We talk about like what makes a horror game good and whatever, and we'd usually kind of handle it from like you would have 2 sides to the argument, and we'd split. There was 4 of us most weeks, and some of us would defend, some of us would oppose, and we'd kind of see where we sit, let the audience weigh in, all like 3 audience members.
That's awesome. And yeah, like that sounds really interesting. Like I'd like to like take a listen sometime. Is that something that's still around, or do you plan to go back to it ever, or are you kind of just staying in your lane?
We took a break last summer, I believe it was, or it might have been a little soon or a little further back, just to kind of like reevaluate things and to come back and hit it harder and a little bit more formally. We wanted to rebrand a little bit because we wanted to branch out off just the video game topic, and our name kind of pincushioned us.
Yeah.
and then we just never came back. And, there's a couple times where I kind of messaged and we had like a group message going, and I was like, so we're just gonna let this die? Like, is this, we're not gonna talk about it? And nobody would respond. I was like, all right, so this is dead.
I feel like that's how it'd go at just about any podcast with a group of people. Like, you're going good, everything's going great, you're having fun doing it, and then there's that just one little break in the line where people are like, yeah, let's take a break, and then it never comes back.
Yeah.
Like, I feel like it's one of those things you can't just stop and come back to. Because as much as, like, I love doing this, it's almost like you have to stay practiced at it. And if, like, we've gone for a couple weeks where we didn't have one because we had, like, a backlog that we had built up, and we didn't record for, like, 2 or 3 weeks. And I came back, sat down on the chair, turned on the microphone, got everything going. I was like, fuck, I don't remember how to do this. Like,
Yeah. Yeah, it's definitely like a thing you have to, like, we started this podcast in February. And as far as the name of this podcast, that was definitely something we put into consideration because, this is all about content creation. And we kind of chose a meme type title to the podcast. But that allows us to, really talk about anything.
Yeah, it gives you guys full free reign.
mm-hmm.
Yeah, it gives us free reign and pretty much, and we stick to content creation obviously, but that's a wide variety of things you can talk about. Like, this is the first board game we've had on, talking about a board game. We've had, obviously Twitch streamers, YouTubers, other podcasters, things like that. So, definitely a process. And I agree with Nathan. Like, this was a few months ago. We had, this backlog of episodes, and then we come back and we were both like mumbling and we can't think of the right words. And we just get on and just have a horrible episode on our end. And most people probably won't notice because we're jackwagons anyway, but
it didn't meet your standard.
Yeah, to us
right,
after the episode, we were like, "Oh man, that was horrible." So
and that's it's fun to hear you guys express that, because I think that was like my disappointment in our thing, because we just in our last few podcasts, right before it all kind of dissipated, I felt like we had like finally hit a stride where we stopped trying to be something we weren't, and we were finally fine just berating each other and insulting each other, which really was where we really, it really highlighted our strengths.
Right.
Yeah, I mean, we insult each other probably on a daily basis.
Like, the amount we insult each other on the podcast is nothing compared to what we do during the day.
Right.
Like, I don't even know how we're friends because we talk so much crap about each other. It's like if two people heard us having a conversation, they'd like, these people hate each other. It's actually pretty funny. We were having a discussion in Discord. Was it yesterday or the day before? We were talking about artificial intelligence.
Oh, God.
And me and Asen, we get on our staunch sides, and we'll go at it in an argument or a debate. We'll call it a debate because we're not arguing. But supposedly, it got to the point to where it sounded like we hated each other. We were ready to kill each other. Even Asen's girlfriend was like, I was about to leave because I felt like I was getting uncomfortable. And then I was like, what? I was like, we're just having a discussion about
talk.
So people probably think we hate each other, but it's a love-hate relationship, I guess.
Yeah, see, and if you guys tried to like pretend that wasn't the case on here, you got oh wow, Nathan, that's a great point you bring up there, and I'm really glad you introduced that to the conversation. People, it just feels hollow.
It's terrible.
Yeah,
I'm like, dude, that is the stupidest crap I've ever heard. I'm like, come on.
Yeah, I mean, like, it's all about, especially with a God, what's the word? The structure of this podcast. With it being a free form conversation, we definitely want to come off genuine. So, I come on here and I want to be myself as much as possible. And I think that's important for any content creation, other than, if you're behind the scenes on a board game. I don't know how much of yourself you can really put in the board game, but any kind of live or recorded audio or video is, you want to come off genuine, because I don't think I could do this if I came in here as a character and I tried to be something I'm not.
I'd break character so many times, it wouldn't be funny.
Yeah. Yeah, that's the thing you have to worry about at that point. But
It's definitely. I don't know if because you said you have played Hearthstone, but if you ever go and you look at like the flavor text that they write for the cards that you can see if you like go into your collection,
yeah.
I feel like that's where you really see the personalities shine through of the people.
Yeah.
Because that's what I can appreciate because it's true. Yeah, in a board game, it's tough to really express too much of that stuff, but we find our ways. And that's like even our nerd is named Stan Kirby, and that is literally just like an amalgamation, excuse me, of Stan Lee and Jack Kirby. Why?
That's
because
awesome.
that's what I wanted to do, and because
Yeah.
Austin asked me to come up with names, and so that's what I did. and there's little stuff like that we kind of throw in there. Some of the artwork has stuff like that, but it's definitely a lot tougher to find those areas that you can kind of flare it with your own personality.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that's always been a thing. I love Easter eggs in games, and I always like to see that little personal touch to anything you do as a content creator in whatever you're making. So that's really cool that if someone were to know you guys personally, they would see that through the board game. It's always a little silver lining for people, so. But that's great. So another thing, I mean, you had your podcast, but your I was about to call your friend that you're doing this board game with, I was about to call him a co-host, but no, he's your business partner, I guess is what I should call him. He told us that you also listen to a lot of podcasts. Like, what are some podcasts that you're into?
He listens to more podcasts than I do.
Oh, so he's the
truth
podcast
comes
listener.
out.
Yeah. He may have oversold me a little bit on that one. No, every now and then I'll try to listen to one, but the only thing I've listened to with any recency was Pod Save America.
Okay.
And that's probably not a topic that would be great to go into with any detail. But yeah, no, he was one of our like 4 followers with the video game review, and
Right.
he was texting me from Tulsa when it stopped. He's like, "Wait, you guys aren't coming back? I loved listening to your podcast." I'm like, "Yeah, you're the only one."
You're the only one. Yeah, that's how it feels sometimes. Like it's
Yep. We know the feeling, dude.
It can be a lonely process for sure.
yeah,
Can be.
absolutely. So as far as I kind of asked this earlier, but as far as you guys branching out, now you said you guys were on Twitch a little bit, and I know you don't know as much about that as your partner probably does, but do you guys plan to do more stuff with Twitch or maybe YouTube or things like that to promote it or advertise the board
So
game?
yeah, our trailer is on YouTube right now. It's the same video advertisement that was on our Kickstarter page. It's still on our Kickstarter page. And then the Twitch streams, that was not our personal stream. That was I remembered it earlier. It's Overboard Games, or OBC or OBG, excuse me. That's who streamed for us. And they actually contacted us and were like, "Hey, we love what you guys are doing. We saw it was on tabletop. We'd love to kind of have one of you come on with us, and we'll stream the gameplay, and you guys can put it on your page."
That's awesome.
That's
So
awesome.
Austin did that with them. I believe one of the times he played, and one of the times he kind of hosted. I'm not sure if that's true though, but so yeah, and they're the ones that kind of helped spruce it up on there. So I think we'll probably kind of stay in a similar vein to that we are right now in that regard. I don't know how much we'll do with Twitch or with YouTube, but we'll definitely, any of the videos we create for our content will end up on YouTube for sure. And then we'll reach back out to people like Overboard Games in the future when we're showcasing a new game to see if they want to stream it on there.
Very awesome.
Nice. Yeah, I'm gonna have to check it out because I have Tabletop Simulator. I haven't actually opened it up in quite a while, but now that I know that the game is on there, I definitely want to go on there. I don't personally stream or anything, but the network we're on, the APM network. We actually have a few streamers. Maybe we can interest a few of them into playing it on stream or something for a day and
Do that for like a community night or something. Get all 5 of us on there and play it.
Yeah, that'd be cool.
Yeah, it's definitely worth checking out. I know for a while, I haven't checked recently, but we were for a while if you on the like created game. So when you remove the Munchkins and the Dead of Winters and the Arkham Horrors and stuff like that, we were on the front page for a while.
Nice.
That was based on the popularity of the week, so I think we've probably dropped down. We haven't really been promoting that as much, so I don't know where that falls right now.
And is that something you like? We can download through the like Steam Workshop of the tabletop simulator. Okay.
Yeah, it is. It's on the Steam Workshop. It is. I'm just trying to pull it up right now. Yeah, so it's got 194 current subscribers. It's had 300 something unique visitors in its life. And so yeah, you can go straight through the community to the workshop. If you look up, just type in Misfortune, it'll pop right up, and you can subscribe through there, and then it'll be on your tabletop.
That is awesome. Like that's just that whole process of like, coming from nothing, like you said, a year ago to getting here now and having like way above your goal and things are going into manufacturing. I'm guessing you're like super excited about the whole process now that it's coming to a close.
Oh yeah, it's been the first day of our campaign we raised, I want to say it was about $7,000. And so that's like what I was saying earlier. It slowed in the middle and it picked back up at the end. But to watch, just to sit there and watch those numbers climb that first day was just so exciting. It's the culmination of, and I mean, you guys can appreciate putting work into something over a long period of time.
Yeah.
So just to see it kind of culminate and to finally be able to showcase everything is, I mean, to have like a year of talking to people. Oh, so what have you been doing? Oh, you're working on a game. Well, that's cool. Okay. Yeah, you'll let me know how that goes.
Yeah, like, okay, so before the Kickstarter, how did that, because this is a thing we've talked about on the podcast before, how, Nathan's parents or my parents, when we say we do a podcast or we say we play video games for fun, that it's like a complete, like they look down upon it. And
they're like, you're wasting your time.
Is that something that you experienced while you were making the board game? Is that something your parents were like, what are you doing?
Totally. Oh, for sure. Yeah, my dad is a business owner, and he's very business minded.
Yeah.
And from the beginning, it was very placating for a while. You could tell it was never deriding. It was always like polite. But you could tell it was just like, yeah, this is your little project, and it's great. I'm happy for you. Go do your thing. And so then I was like, hey, here's our video that we have showcasing our work. And he's like, oh, wow, this looks real. And then we got our review copies of the game printed, and he's just like impressed that they have a barcode on them.
That's awesome.
Yeah, it was, given my personality, it was definitely satisfying to be able to go to some people and be like, see, it's a real thing.
See, I did.
Look at it.
Look at it. Yeah, I'm sure at this point your parents are probably like ecstatic.
Oh yeah, they have. I give it a hard time, but they've been great supporters throughout the process. I remember the first time I got my wife to play test the game, which we done quite a bit with it at that point. She sat down and we finished, and she's like, "Huh, this is actually a lot of fun."
Oh God.
And I was like, "Well, that is an honest reply. It's actually a lot of fun."
It's like a half, like, are you just saying that because you're my wife, or
right? And that's what like the thing is like, I'm actually had a good time, and it's like, well, I'm glad you didn't expect that you would have a good time.
Sounds like something Anna would say. My wife.
Yeah.
I get
Another
that.
thing that I was just thinking about for the board game, and obviously I don't know how it works because I haven't played it yet or tested it or anything, but is there any like plans to add like expansions to it? Is that possible even for a game like this, like adding more cards and things like that for people to play around with?
So it's something we've gotten a lot of feedback about, and so it's definitely something we're considering.
Okay.
We will continue to kind of sit and wait to see what people think once they play it, um, because, like I said, the game at its core is very simple,
Yeah.
and you can definitely apply strategy to it, but I don't I don't want to misrepresent it by giving it expansions in the future if that's not the kind of game that it ever really
Right.
sits to be. That being said, it definitely like new kids could be added at any
Yeah.
time. I mean that's what we're doing with the custom characters, and honestly, um, that was part of our thought process. Is it was a great way to kind of play test different mechanics in the same system, by giving it to people, by letting
Yeah.
people, get it on their own custom thing, and it did open up some headspace that we hadn't even considered. So that's already been a great thing. But to add monsters would be a little bit tougher, just because of the way the game is balanced. It would require some finagling,
Yeah.
and I don't think that, like, there probably could never be a standalone expansion, but it definitely is built in a way that could add to it. It would just be a headache.
Yeah. Yeah. At that point, if there's so much, demand for something, you could say like we're working on another one, not an
Right.
expansion, but a whole different board game.
Right, and that's what the next project that we're kind of looking at, that I won't talk too much about it, but um, we're definitely coming at it from the ground up to have a little bit more of a modular design, um, both for things like stretch goals and a Kickstarter, and to allow us to kind of shift things like that, and then also to allow more room for things like expansions.
Yeah.
Heck yeah.
All right, man. Well, we've pretty much already burnt through an hour, so we're gonna go into our random question segment to kind of close things out, and then we'll be on our way out. So the random question is pretty standard for what we're talking about, but it's just what was your favorite board game growing up? Like, what was your favorite thing to play?
Man, I don't know if you guys ever played the Pokemon Master Trainer board game.
Dude, I had it.
It was
That was so
good.
fun.
Yeah. It had nothing to do with Pokemon, really. It was basically just throw dice. But I love that
Yes.
game. That was a great game.
Oh, so good. I completely forgot about that, but
Right?
it's somewhere in my parents' house in the attic or something.
If it's in good condition, you should probably sell it on eBay, because if it's like anything else from the 90s, it's probably worth like $130 now.
Probably.
I'm about to go over to your parents' house and look, dude.
Hey, now.
Yeah, that's definitely, like, off the top of my head, I think that's my go-to.
Dude, I feel like I remember coming over to your house and playing that in your bedroom.
I'm pretty sure you did.
I'm pretty sure we
I'm
did.
pretty
Now
sure
that
we
we're
played
talking
it at some
about it.
point, because I love that game. Like it, I don't even know where I got it. I think it was like maybe a garage sale or something. Like it was. I don't
Now,
remember
I
ever
don't-
seeing it in stores.
I don't remember how the game played, but I remember having a board with Pokemon on it, and you rolled dice against people.
Yeah, and
I don't know
there
if-
were like little circles.
Yeah.
That's where the Pokemon were on. I don't remember how you
Yep,
battled or
yeah.
if you did or anything.
God, that's old school, dude.
Yeah, and then you had to fight the Elite Four at the end of the board game.
Yep.
Yeah. Yeah. You could, like, there was, like, different random things that would give you the chance to pick up a fossil or a legendary.
Mhm.
It was good, man.
Yeah,
I wanted
that's a
to be
good
the
answer.
very best.
Completely forgot about that one. For me, my favorite, there's one. It's like a Japanese board game that I cannot, for the life of me, think of right now. But it's a lot like Risk.
I have no idea.
I have no idea either. But it's like you build like shoguns and samurai and stuff like that, and it plays a lot like Risk. And you have like your own military and everything. But because I don't remember the name of that game, we'll just go with Risk, because I loved playing Risk. That was something I remember because I grew up with Nathan. So I remember playing Risk with him, and it was a ton of fun with him and his brothers.
There's a game, I was trying to look it up while we are talking. There is a game that was called Shogun.
No, I think it started with an I.
Yeah, Risk is the kind of game, though, that ruins friendships.
It does, dude. That's what I was about to say. Like, I remember playing that game a few times. I don't know if Hassan was there or not, but it was actually one of my dad's friends that was good friends with the family. He was at our house and we were playing it. And my youngest brother, I don't know how, he's probably 10 years old at the time, got mad because he got kicked out of the game and he flipped the board game over. Like, he flipped the whole board over and, like, scattered the pieces everywhere. And everybody got pissed. Like, that would literally ruin friendships and demoralize families whenever that happened.
I knew a guy in college who introduced us to the concept of Riskopoly. And
I've never heard of that.
it was
Is that Risk and Monopoly put together?
at the same time. And so you had
Oh
both
my
boards
God.
going, and you funded your Risk army with your Monopoly money.
Oh my god.
Oh, no.
But ultimately, you won through Risk, and so like
Right.
you could try to rush an army, and then if you knock somebody out of Risk, you take all of their properties. Or
Wow.
you could try to go through Monopoly and like bankrupt the other army so that they could produce more units. It was
That's
it was
pretty cool,
the
actually.
most arduous game I ever played. I did it once. It was like 7 hours. I'm like, well, I can check this off a bucket list and never touch it again.
For mine, I would have to say, well, probably Risk, because that was the one I remember growing up playing the most. But it was an old game I remember playing when I was probably 8, 12 years old. And you had two separate sides. It had little tab flip ups. I think it was called Strategio or Strategio, I think.
Yeah.
And you had the little cardboard things and you put them on there and you would attack, and depending on whose character was stronger that you attacked, you would take their piece and stuff like that.
That game
was probably-
great. I forgot about
Yeah, it was. Yeah. I don't know. I don't even remember where I played it at, but I remember playing it enough to always have like a lasting memory. But probably
I
be my
looked
game.
it up, by the way, and it's called Ikusa, Ikusa, but the American name of it is Shogun. So I guess
Well, there you go.
were right. That I just remember playing the Ikusa version, even though it was in English. So I don't know when it's called Shogun and when it's called.
Was that here in the
Ikusa, but-
States?
Yeah.
It says at the bottom on this one, formerly known as Samurai Swords and Shogun. Yeah, but I guess
okay.
they did a couple different rebrandings.
So yeah, I probably played the newest one then, and it's like I said, it's very much like Risk. Even if you look at it, it looks like Risk pieces on
Yeah.
the board. But I played that with. Nathan knows Chris. You might even know Chris, which is Braden, one of Braden's friends.
I think I do.
Uh,
I won't say his
and-
last name on here, but I'm pretty sure I
I
do.
won't. But yeah, Chris's sister had it, and we all played it one night, and I had a lot of fun. And that's the only time I've ever played it, but it had such a lasting impact on me that I'm like, it's up there for me. So
The one I remember playing with them was the Settlers of Catan.
Mhm.
yes,
It's a great
Catan is
game.
another great one.
That game made me want to slam my head into the table. It was so frustrating. It was too much going on.
Yeah, I love that game.
See, and that statement right there is what we were trying to balance.
Avoid. Yeah.
Right. Because, like, relatively speaking, Settlers is a pretty light game compared to a lot of those things.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so we wanted to hit, this way somebody that thinks Settlers is a lot will still enjoy our game, but then somebody like Chris, if this is the same Chris, can still have a good time.
Right.
Yeah. All right, man. Well, I had a lot of fun. I hope you did as well. And like if people want to check out the board game or follow you guys on social media for when pre-orders are available, or get a copy for themselves, where can they do that?
The Kickstarter will be up, the Curse of Misfortune Lane. There's a Facebook page for the Curse of Misfortune Lane. And the best way to keep well informed is probably through our Twitter, which is Howling Hog Games.
Okay. Yeah, we'll put all that in the show notes, and I will definitely be picking up a copy. So
Yeah,
I'll
we
support you
appreciate
guys
it. This
whenever
is a
that-
lot of fun.
yeah, man.
Heck yeah,
for
dude.
sure. Other than that, any last thoughts, anyone?
I'm good, dude.
I'm all thought out.
You're all thought out. All right, guys. Well, we will see you next week.
Goodbye.
Hey you, yes you. Thank you so much for listening to the episode. I hope you enjoyed it, and even if you didn't, we would love to hear your feedback, which can be sent to coldonepodcast@gmail.com or leave us a review on iTunes. It helps us gauge how we can make this podcast better for your enjoyment. If you would like to contact us, you can do that through our email or follow us on social media, which is at Cold One Podcast for Twitter and Facebook. We are now on Spotify as well as most podcast apps in existence, but if you prefer to listen to it online, head on over to our website, actionsperminute.net, for the latest episodes, a link to the APM Network Discord, or to check out any of our APM sponsored streamers. And lastly, if you like what we do, tell your friends and spread the good word. Thank you again, and remember, don't drink and drive.